This is the Drive and Dish Podcast.
Oh, man, a monster jam!
Talking about NBA news, stats, and fantasy. To start it off, it's Tim Tompkins and Kevin Rafuse.
Oh, he just sucked the gravity right out of the building!
Let's go.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam. Alright.
Well, we promised it last week, and, we got to deliver on our promises. So without further ado, the Space Jam theme song. Is there a better basketball movie than Space Jam?
I'm a big fan of Like Mike.
Yeah, Like Mike?
Yeah, I've always wanted to be that kid that just is like, oh, shoes, and now I have basketball skills.
That's pretty sweet. I mean, that would definitely be like the greatest thing of all time. Just get magically NBA caliber awesome.
Yep, and then I'm assuming you would play for the Sixers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I gotta go for hometown.
What about the dribble? Did the shoes automatically make you have really good dribble?
I think it just made him have Michael Jordan's powers. It was like a superhero thing. Put on the cape, you can fly. You put on the shoes, you're Michael Jordan.
So it wasn't just the running; it was everything else.
It was everything.
everything.
I think he dunked at one point.
Yeah, no, he dunked from like the free throw line, and Bow Wow's like 5'2", so that would be just magical to witness.
Gave every short person some hope.
Right, and that's what we need, hope. Tim, what about you, buddy? What's your favorite basketball movie?
White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Wesley Snipes with the layups because he wasn't tall enough to dunk himself.
It gave me hope that I could hustle people and make a living.
There you go.
How'd that work out for you?
I'm here.
Okay.
So, I guess we got that idea.
It's all about tricking people.
Exactly.
My sleeper basketball movie, He Got Game. Spike Lee, Ray Allen, Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Yes.
I can't actually say I've ever seen that.
Really?
You need to go home tonight because you have right now, let's just say my co-host, Tim Tompkins, sitting to my left right now, is fighting through the pain here to do this podcast today. Tim had a fever last night. He's got strep throat right now. So since he's not going to be doing anything tonight because he's sick, you need to go home and watch He Got Game.
I think I could pull up the Netflix and make that happen.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix, but there's some way. There's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. And that goes for if he says anything weird during this podcast, that's why.
That's our disclaimer now.
It's the medicine.
It's a wild card.
It's the medicine. We're going to see how that goes. But my name is Kevin Rafuse. This is the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Like I said, joined me in my left, Tim Tompkins, my co-host, my sickly co-host today. And behind the boards, keeping us honest as always, Justin Kuzart.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? How was your week?
I worked. I sold a car today.
Yeah.
Or
What
not
kind of
today,
car?
this week. It was pretty cool. It was a 2006 LaCrosse.
Okay.
With 88,000 miles on
How
it.
did you
that's not
talk
even
that
that
person
bad.
into that sale?
They had a car with 140,000 miles on it, so it was like you might as well buy something that has less than 100,000 miles. And they weren't going to drive much anymore. They're kind of getting up there in age. So.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Made some money off of it.
It's always a plus.
Exactly.
All about checks.
Exactly. Bringing in the money. Can't
Absolutely.
hustle people anymore.
But anyways, we are also on Twitter right now. You can follow me at Refuse to Lose, RAFUSETOLOSE. You can follow Tim at Tim from Tucson, like Tucson, Arizona. And you can follow Justin at J Kuzart, JCOUSART. If you have any ideas that you want to hear us talk about, you can use the hashtag DADPod, like Dad Pod.
Yep.
Or you can find us on iTunes. Just search the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. You can find us, hit that blue subscribe button, and you will automatically get every episode that we do on a weekly basis, plus any midweek surprises that we have. We got a few of those coming up. We can maybe hint at them a little later on the show.
Yeah.
Coming up this week, we've got Kevin Love and the Lakers bid to acquire him this offseason. Potentially some rumors going around. Lakers looking like they're going to have a high draft pick. Minnesota right now, then everyone seems to think that Kevin Love not going to re-sign there. Hasn't made the playoffs there yet, so we'll get into that kind of potential trade going on there. Mm-hmm. We have the Sixers, now losers of 26 straight. Some people are calling them the 26ers, tying the 2011 Cavaliers, the first year post-LeBron, for the longest losing streak in NBA history. They have the potential to break that tonight against Detroit, so we'll get into that and what exactly that means going
Fingers
forward.
crossed.
We got the Heat and the Pacers squaring off. A pretty epic battle Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Potential Eastern Conference Finals preview, most people think, including myself. Get into that. The Pacers getting that W, have that home court advantage. We'll talk about what that means. And last but not least, the Knicks trying to sneak in there, make that last second push See if Phil Jackson maybe can't get them into the playoffs with his Zen master aura coming around, giving them a winning culture. But why don't we get some news first? Justin, you got the news?
Yeah.
Wade puts it up for the win. Yeah, baby!
Now on to NBA news on the Drive and Dish podcast. PJ Tucker wants to re-sign with the Phoenix Suns when he becomes a free agent in July. Tucker knows that the deal will be for a higher price than the veteran minimum salary he has played for in the past 2 seasons. Forbes magazine named Tucker the most underpaid player in the league for his $884,000 salary. Tucker is averaging 9.6 points and 6.6 rebounds per game. Kevin Love can become a free agent in 2015 and appears to be one of the more likely players to move teams, even though he has downplayed the possibility of leaving the Timberwolves. A source familiar with Love's thinking says he likes the idea of being big time in a big city, and that list of potential places he seeks includes Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. Both the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers are projected to have a max cap space in 2015, while the Chicago Bulls could have enough assets to acquire Love via trade. Andrew Bogut was injured in the Golden State Warriors' win over the Memphis Grizzlies on Friday after getting kneed and ran the court with an obvious limp before checking out of the game for good with 7:59 left in the first quarter. The injury was diagnosed as a pelvic contusion. Bogut did not return and was scheduled to undergo an MRI exam on Saturday. Timberwolves coach Rick Alderman nearly walked away from his coaching job last offseason, and sources say he's convinced more than a few people in the team's circle that he'll opt out of his final season of his deal. Alderman is 67, and his wife has been dealing with a persistent illness. Ricky Rubio's agent could demand a contract extension of at least $10 million per year with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rubio is represented by Dan Fegan. Rubio is not shown to be deserving of an 8-figure salary, averaging 9 points and 8.6 assists while shooting 37.4% from the field this season.
Thanks so much for reading that news, Justin. So, yeah, Ricky Rubio, he wants a $10 million contract extension already, huh?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a little rough for the Minnesota team.
You know, I mean, Rubio's one of those players that, you know, everybody expected these wild things from him. And he's a great passer. He's a great on-ball defender, but he still can't shoot.
Yeah, that's what I thought when he came in. I have a friend who's Spanish, and he was talking about how he's going to be the best basketball player to ever come in here. And when I would watch him, I'm like, yeah, he got some good passing skills, but scoring-wise, he doesn't pose a threat too much.
No, he doesn't. And the thing is, defenders tend to lean off of him, encouraging him to shoot because they know he'll miss. But I feel like with his shooting, the thing that he can improve on the most is he can't finish around the rim.
He definitely can get into the lane. That's one of the big facets of his game. I don't know. He's shown flashes of brilliance. We saw it in the international tournament with Spain that one year. That's kind of where he got that almost legend status from, like, as the next big thing coming from overseas. And like, we've seen flashes of it. It's just he's got to be more consistent. He hasn't taken that leap, I guess, that what people expected from him.
No, he has a really flat shot.
Yeah, and then the shooting's only going to hold him back. He's just got to get better. I mean, the biggest worry for the Timberwolves right now, without a doubt, is Kevin Love. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Every indication so far is that he's going to leave Minnesota. Like I said, he hasn't made the playoffs since being there. It's just been a lot of bad draft picks, a lot of bad signings, just pretty much everything that's gone wrong in Minnesota has gone wrong. And this year certainly hasn't helped with being in a competitive Western Conference.
Right.
So this coming in kind of the last day or two is a trade that, you know, a lot of people have linked Kevin Love to the Lakers all along. And the Lakers, obviously not doing too hot right now, potentially a top 5 draft pick, somewhere around that range. The question is, B, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, do you trade Kevin Love, assuming that he's going to walk away?
I would. For another reason, too, is Kevin Love also kind of has this injury concern around him. You know, he gets injured a fair amount. This year he hasn't been too injured, but seeing him take that hit the other night where he like slammed his head on the ground, that scared me. So I think if I'm the Timberwolves, take a first round pick, whoever they're going to offer you. You could pick up Parker, maybe Wiggins, depending, you know. So it might be more worth it, and maybe they'll be less injury prone, and maybe something will come of it.
I think it's definitely a high risk, high reward kind of deal. I think if Kevin Love is going to walk anyway, you seriously have to consider this deal. The problem just becomes Kevin Love is arguably a top 10 player in the entire league right now.
Yeah.
The last Minnesota big superstar was Kevin Garnett. They traded Kevin Garnett, said that was kind of the beginning of the rebuild, and it hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
They just haven't been good since KG left. To a fan base like that, where they're just thirsting to get into the playoffs and make some noise, trading a proven thing in Kevin Love. You know what Kevin Love is. You know that he has the potential to maybe be a top 5 player. But you also, take the gamble then. Does Rubio make that jump? Does Pekovic come back healthy? I think you have to make the trade if the deal is right, especially depending how the Lakers do in the lottery. The hardest part's going to be to sell it to the fans, like I said.
Yeah.
I just think that you're going to lose Love anyway. You don't want it to be a situation where, like Toronto with Chris Bosh or Miami with LeBron James,
you don't want him to come back.
Nothing out of it. You need to try to get something. The last big trade that I remember where a superstar got moved was the Dwight Howard trade, and everyone was like, "Oh, the Magic got nothing out of this. Like they're giving away their superstar talent. They're just getting worked." But now, if you look at it with the way that trade's going out, the Magic pretty much won that trade.
Yeah, they made out really well. The Lakers got kind of screwed over.
Yeah, the Lakers lost Dwight for nothing. The Nuggets lost Iggy, and the Sixers, Bynum never played for them.
Yeah.
So the Magic, you got a whole bunch of young assets. I think you need to try to hope that that's a best-case scenario that happens with Minnesota. But again, if the deal's right in this deep of a draft, and where the Lakers could very well have a number 1 pick even, you might not be able to turn that down.
I agree. And I'm still a little upset with the Sixers getting rid of Vukovic, or however you say his name. He's amazing.
I never understood why he didn't play. Doug Collins, he was in like that infamous doghouse, I felt like. Because when he played against the Celtics 2011 in the second round and against the Bulls that year, he was good.
He's great. He's a very good player.
He's doing everything that he was doing in Orlando. He grabs boards. He finishes around the rim. I never understood why he didn't get played. I thought that he was good, and I thought he deserved a better chance than some of the big men we were running out there. But just for some mystery reason, he never played. And sure enough, he's flourishing in Orlando.
Yeah, well, some of the things the Sixers do make me angry, like this 26-game or possible 26-game losing streak.
But does it make you angry?
It doesn't. What makes me angry is the people on Twitter that are yelling at me, thinking it's hilarious that a Philly team has lost 26 straight, and most of them are Hawks fan, and that's fine. You can go to your first-round playoff and get swept. Do what you want to do. I don't care. I'm not satisfied with that. I want to win. And that's what I tell them, and they're like, well, at least we have hope. I don't care. I have hope. The more they lose, the more hope we have.
I would just like to point out that this is the longest losing streak of all 4 major sports in the United States, not just basketball.
And that's
this is tanking to a whole nother level.
The Sixers this current Sixers team is the greatest tanking team of all time. And that's why they're getting so much scrutiny. They have figured out how to tank with 100% efficiency.
Yes.
That lineup they tried out every night is horrible. There are maybe 2 NBA caliber players on that entire team.
Yeah.
Thad Young and Michael Carter-Williams. And they could potentially, unless the deal is right for Thad, are building blocks for the pieces going forward. But at the same time, Adam Silver said it. You have to be bad to be good. That's the way the system is designed. Unless you install a hard cap or you totally get rid of the cap, there's no other way. You have to build through the draft. The Sixers are taking that chance. It's better to be really bad than to be kind of stuck in no man's land. Just keep getting middle of the range talent. You have to go for the superstar home run. It's torturous to watch right now.
It's awful.
There's no other way to say it. The Sixers during this 26-game losing streak, I think, have led for 20 seconds in the fourth quarter.
I also saw a stat that said only the 2010-2011 Cavs, the 84-85 Knicks, and the 72-73 Sixers wound up with the top pick after losing 20 or more.
It's going to be interesting. The craziest part to me is through all this losing, they're not even the worst team in the league yet.
That's outrageous to me. That's embarrassing.
Milwaukee has 14 wins. The Sixers have 15. Milwaukee did win last night against the Lakers.
Yeah,
so they are... If the Sixers tie with the Bucks, if the Bucks get that 15th win and say the Sixers don't win anymore, some scenario they end up tied, they both have guaranteed top 4 picks and the same odds of that number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're a Sixers fan, you're hoping that's happening. Well, what I find interesting with this entire losing streak is, for better or for worse, Philadelphia has that reputation of being hard on their sports teams and being just violent and yelling and they boo everybody and don't tolerate losing and all this stuff. The Sixers are totally embraced right now.
We understand.
People love this.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm trying to make the people when anyone says that to me, is I'm trying to make them understand is we understand that this is what has to happen right now. And there's no, like, we went into it thinking we were going to at least win this amount of games. I knew it was going to be terrible. We knew it was going to be terrible.
It's horrible now.
You guys were you were planning on breaking the streak for most consecutive losses.
And I didn't think break the streak.
Brutal.
I didn't think break the streak, but I knew it was going to get dark. I knew it was going to be bad.
Once Evan Turner and Spencer Hawes and Lavoy Allen got traded, you kind of knew that it was going to be pretty awful.
Bad place.
So is this the worst team in NBA history?
It's close.
It has.
And I think it very well could. I would be hard pressed to think if this current team post trade deadline was together for an entire season. I struggle to see them win 9 games. They are that bad. Their average during the streak, their average margin of losing is 17 points.
Jesus. Another little glimpse of hope, I guess, is the Bobcats 2 years ago. They went on a 23-game losing streak, and look at them now.
They're getting better.
They're about to make the playoffs.
They didn't get any draft luck. That's what we have to hope the Sixers avoid, is that they get the draft luck. There's a lot of luck into this. It's not a guarantee home run. The first part of the plan is going extraordinarily well, to the point that the NBA is actually reconsidering doing the draft because the Sixers have perfected tanking. There's no other way to say it. They have perfected tanking. They are the 96 Bulls of tanking.
And
they're the
awesome.
best at losing.
It's glorious.
It keeps bringing me back to that South Park episode where they don't want to play baseball over the summer, so they have to outlose each other.
Yes.
It brings me back to that all the time, and I think that's funny.
It's just...
I laugh at it.
I mean, there's nothing else to say. It's horrible this year. If you're taking any positives away, it's that Thad Young has an improved three-point range game and looks like he may be a part of this team going forward, be that veteran guy, or he's played well enough to get a pretty solid deal out of him, maybe move up in the draft a little bit or get some kind of compensation.
Do you think the Sixers make a run towards Love?
No, I don't.
No?
While I would love it, no pun intended, I just don't think they're there yet. Mm-hmm. I think they're trying to get the core a little more down. I think with Kevin Love, he wants to go somewhere that he can win because he hasn't really won yet. The Sixers, even if they get Wiggins and get another great first-round pick with the Pelicans pick, I still think they're 2 years away from doing any kind of serious damage come playoff time. Okay. Kevin Love is entering the prime of his career right now. I think he'll want to go somewhere more established. And he's an LA guy. I mean, he went to UCLA. He's from California.
Family.
There's every reason for him to go home. I don't think there's that there for Philly. I think if they're going to make a marquee free agent signing, it'll be, like I said, a year or two, maybe even 3 years down the road.
Okay. Well, let's take it from a losing team to a good team. What about the Heat-Pacers game that happened on Wednesday, if I remember correctly?
It was, and it was awesome.
It was
I cannot
amazing.
wait. We've criticized these last two teams over the past few episodes and wondered about them, and then you just see them play, and you're like, come on, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. We're like, who are we kidding ourselves that they're not going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals?
It was a bloody game. It was literally a bloody game. Like, I was waiting for a fight to break out.
There's hatred. There's genuine hatred there. We saw Stevenson get tossed with the double technical,
which was dumb on his part.
Thing.
It was dumb on his part.
Turn around. You see Wade kind of smile and then just throw his arms up. Wade just trolled him into perfection.
Yeah. What I thought was a good stat to throw out there is the Pacers shot 37%, but they still were able to win. So I think the Pacers are going to make it real tough on the Heat.
Well, I think the home court, we saw the impact that home court could have. Just that crowd is so hostile and raucous, and just there's genuine hatred for these two teams. You really can see it. I mean, we saw LeBron elbow Hibbert getting a flagrant foul.
And that was terrifying.
It was a brutal, bloody, old school 80-point basketball game.
There were also some fights in the stands and people watching the game, some Heat and Pacers fans. Yeah, there's video up of it online.
I was watching that, and I think that's awesome.
We've been talking all along the impact that home court would have, and that home court matters for Indy.
Yeah.
For the way these two teams have been struggling, at the end of the day, the Heat have the best player in the world. Indy needs everything they can have on their side. And with home court, I struggle to see them losing a 7-game series if they have home court. Good as the Heat are.
I think I saw a stat that over the last 2 seasons, Pacers are 6-1 against the Heat in Indy. I mean, that's a pretty good...
Yeah, including playoffs.
Yeah, that's a pretty good foreshadow of what's to come if they can get home court.
Still one of the most entertaining things in the world for me whenever you watch those games is when LeBron goes into the lane against Roy Hibbert. It is just a clash of the Titans every single time, and neither of them are afraid to go at each other.
How about that dunk?
Unbelievable.
Oh, my gosh. That got me out of my seat.
The other thing I will say about that game that I noticed is Greg Oden is absolutely just brutal. against Roy Hibbert. Roy Hibbert just torched him.
Yeah.
Was it 13 first quarter points?
I think it was 11, or 13, yeah.
And how much more surprising was it that Udonis Haslem ended up being the Roy Hibbert stopper and all of that?
Well, they said we dusted him off almost. He hasn't barely played all year there. But this always seems to happen with the Heat. Have you noticed that come playoff time, players that Mike Miller, for example, when he was there, he never ever played during the regular season and was critical for the Heat in those last 3 series.
Where is he now?
Memphis.
I know we were talking about Odin last week, and we were talking about a bunch of things that might have changed over the 5 years that he's been in the NBA or been injured in the NBA. So I actually went and got a list of things that have been invented or happened in the past.
All right, lay it on us.
Okay, so the first thing is the electric/hybrid car.
Really?
Yes.
Electric, I'm not terribly surprised. Hybrid, I kind of am. I feel like they've been around longer.
Yeah. Smartphones.
Okay.
Phones being able to access the web.
Makes sense.
Texting became way more popular. It was around, but it wasn't big popular thing.
That is so true.
It's easier now.
And, Blockbuster died / Netflix came around.
And that really makes me sad. I always enjoyed walking around Blockbuster and looking at all the movie titles.
Uh-huh.
Now I just go to Redbox and click a button, but I enjoyed going with my girlfriend at the time and looking at the boxes, and you can't do that anymore now. Blockbuster's
I was more in it for the video games.
The only thing, what would suck though, and this could be a good grind my gears potentially, whenever you'd get a game or a movie and it would just be scratched and skipped, and that was the worst. Oh, there's nothing worse than that.
I've never gotten one from Redbox that was scratched or messed up. So.
No, me neither. I've had good luck with Redbox, though I've never rented a video game from Redbox.
Yeah. Okay, tablets are another thing that came around. Blogging.
Oh, I remember having a blog when I was 21.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know if blogging was popular. Maybe blogging became popular in the last 5 years.
It's popular now. So, let's go with that. It's popular now. The Blu-ray came around.
Sense.
We lost a planet.
Was that 5 years ago?
No, that's within the 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, we lost Pluto. Pluto's no longer considered a planet.
Let's have a moment for Pluto real quick.
Pour one out for our homie. Twitter came around.
I'm trying to think when I made Twitter in 2009, I think.
Really?
There's an app that lets you see when you made it, but I didn't really use it until 2010. I don't know if you saw on Twitter. Did you see the first tweet? It was Twitter's 8th anniversary. You can go back and see your first.
I was going to do it, and then my first tweet wasn't good, so I didn't do it.
Yeah, mine wasn't as embarrassing as I thought, but it wasn't anything that I'm proud of either.
And last but not least, the Sham Wow.
The Sham Wow.
Yeah, that guy. Didn't he end up, the guy that was advertising that, go to jail for beating up a hooker or something?
Yeah, it was real interesting. It was a bad time for infomercial stars. Billy Mays died and he went to jail for beating up a hooker.
Yeah.
So a lot has happened in the 5 years that Greg Oden has played basketball.
It's been a long, long road.
I'm sure he's thinking the same thing.
And I'm glad he's playing again. I genuinely am very happy that he's playing again. But he just cannot stop Roy Hibbert to save his life.
I mean,
he looked like a fool.
Maybe you guys can attest to this or disagree with me, but my biggest take on the game was that when I was looking at the Miami Heat's bench, it was emotionless. None of them were smiling. None of them were frowning. They were just, it was almost, they look as if they just don't care. And how much is that going to affect them going into the playoffs when you look like a team who doesn't care?
Well, and how much of that is fatigue, too, with it being now potentially, I mean, this will be the 4th year if they go all the way that they go back to the finals. How much just exhausted are they?
Well, I saw a stat on this, and basically if you include the Heat's finals appearances, that they've basically played one more season than every other team. All those finals playoff appearances count for an entire season's worth of games.
That's got to wear you down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not even counting the Olympics, too. LeBron and Dwayne Wade were playing in the Olympics, and Chris Bosh.
Yeah, so that's got to take on the toll on the body and the mind.
I don't know. I still think they're coming out of the East. I'm just not going to bet against LeBron. Indy, I know I said it earlier, but I said Indy is very capable of winning a 7-game series at home. I would almost say that they're the favorite, but if it came down to a final pick for me, I'd take the Heat still.
As it is now in the playoffs, the Heat might end up matching against the Bobcats and then the Bulls. And I guarantee that the Bulls are going to be a very testy matchup if they do end up going against them.
The Bulls will be testy, but at the end of the day, too, the Bulls just can't score with the Heat. That's what it comes down to. It's going to be testy and it'll be tough, but we saw the Bulls steal one last year, and then they just got crushed the last 4 games. As good as Joakim Noah is playing right now, put it this way, if I was the Heat, I'd much rather play the Bulls than play the Nets second round.
the Pacers would end up playing Toronto and then the Hawks. I mean, that seems like a much better road to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, the Hawks, they'll crush. The Hawks are just ravaged by injuries right now.
Yeah, they're not going to make any noise.
The Raptors kind of inexperienced still. Don't know how much that's going to play in. I do love that potential young gun matchup, though, first round with Toronto and Washington.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
A lot of first-timers there for the playoffs, eager to prove something. I think that could be a lot of fun. We're going to see some fun basketball there. But while we're talking in the Eastern Conference, we talk about another team that still somehow is alive, the New York Knicks. But every time they seem to be able to make some noise and get within striking distance of that 8th seed, they blow it. Lost games to the Lakers. The Lakers put up, 31 points in one quarter?
Oh,
51.
51.
51. Excuse me.
That was outrageous. My roommate's a huge Knicks fan, and I still have not let him live that one down because that's hilarious.
It's like, who is playing for the Lakers right now at this point?
Nick Young.
Swaggy P.
So he might be the only reason they scored.
Hey, Jordan Hill's back.
Oh, Jordan Hill.
Chris
who's
Kaman?
their center? Is it Chris Kaman?
Chris
still
Kaman,
playing?
yeah.
Kaman's been battling injuries, though.
Yeah, but he's playing
Who's
right
their
now.
other center? The one that fouled Love the other night real hard.
Ryan Kelly? Is that his
I
name?
think Kelly, yeah. I think it was Kelly. But other than that, it's like, who do they have?
Now, I think it would have been hard for any team to score 51 points, even if there hadn't been an opposing team.
You think if you put you had one ball out there and you put 5 people and you just timed them from out of the corner, they would be able to get 51?
I think it would be equally as difficult.
Because that's a lot of pressure.
Right. And that's what 51's a lot of points.
You're saying if they put 5 people like us out there.
I'm just saying, 51 points is a lot of points.
They would put up 51 points on us easily. They wouldn't even break a sweat putting up 51 points on us.
We might be able to
I love your confidence, Tim, but that might be the fever talking.
Yeah, that's definitely the fever talking.
51 points is a lot of points to score on a professional basketball team in one quarter. I saw the Knicks play a really horrible game against the Suns the other night. They looked really lifeless.
Yeah,
lost 112 to 88.
Yeah, it was a brutal game. The Suns brought in they emptied their bench at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
The Knicks just had that streak. They had wins against Minnesota, Utah, Cleveland, Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, Indiana, Philly. So, 2 soft games there with the Sixers, a soft game with the Bucks. Not a lot of great teams, but you got to win against Indy in there. Cleveland is about the same record as the Knicks. But then it's just, after March 21st, they win against the Sixers. It was a 1-point win. Then they lost to Cleveland the next night. They lost to Lakers. 2 bad losses that you just absolutely need to have. Beat the Kings, but then, like you said, get crushed by the Suns. So it's just when the Knicks get within the striking distance. Now, they are getting some help from Atlanta. Atlanta's lost 5 straight.
Well, and they got their own problems.
But, the Knicks' next game is Sunday against Golden State. Can't see them beating Golden State.
No.
Just especially when Golden State's fighting for playoff seeding.
Well, don't they've got that whole coaching scandal, I guess you could call it a scandal going on right now.
That was interesting to me. The reports are going around that Mark Jackson isn't satisfied with Golden State and that he's looking for a better job. What better job is out there right now than Golden State?
Well, and he also sent his assistant coach down to the D-League affiliate for the Golden State Warriors.
Right, Scalabrine. And so what... But seriously, I mean, you have one of the most dynamic backcourts in the league who, when they're on, can shoot with anybody. They can win you games just off their range, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
I could understand if it were a team that weren't making any noise, but...
They're one of those teams that I know people had them pegged to maybe be like a top 3 Western team. But you got to be honest, if they get into the playoffs, there's no reason why they can't beat anybody. If their shooting is on, they can beat anybody in the world. So what kind of job are you looking for at that point? What jobs out there are significantly better than Golden State?
Well, it seems like the owners don't have a lot of confidence in him.
I just think it's when you're in the midst of a playoff race, this is not what you need right now.
Yeah, the team doesn't need to be hearing that and dealing with that. What they should be focused on now is winning games and preparing.
Golden State is a 6th seed. Their first round matchup is going to be against the Clippers, who we talked about last week. A very, very solid team looking like they come out of the Western Conference.
And if you go into that not completely 100% concentrated on the game,
you get torched.
You're going to get worked.
So you guys don't think that this Golden State Warriors team is going to be the same upset likely team that they were last year?
Oh, I do. I think if Golden State beat the Clippers, it wouldn't surprise me. Would I pick the Clippers to win? Absolutely. I think the Clippers are a better team. But with Golden State shooters and the way they play basketball, if their shooters are on, there's just nothing you can do. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson make shots from anywhere on the floor.
Well, now that we've driven home that point about the Golden State Warriors, Justin, what grinds your gears?
This week I'm going to talk about how it's annoying when you don't re-rack your weights at the gym.
I hate those people.
I do too.
What grinds my gears?
All right, today on Grind My Gears, my topic is about people who do not re-rack the weights in the right way at the gym. I mean, come on. You're in the gym because you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to not be lazy. And that is the biggest form of laziness that you can do in the gym, pretty much. It's not the people that works their job. Their job is to make sure you stay safe and keep the place clean. Not to re-rack your weights because you did too much or you didn't feel the need to take it back to its rightful spot. When you're in the gym, you're trying to lose weight. So it's almost like you're skipping out on part of your workout. When you don't do that, it makes everyone else have to work harder, and that's fine. It's just pure laziness. If you don't take the time to put the weights back, then you're pretty much skipping out on half of your workout. And not to mention, when you put a 25-pound weight where the 45-pound weight's supposed to go, now you're making me have to take off the 25, put it on the ground, pick up the 45, put it where I want to go, and then put the 25 back in its rightful spot, where if you had just done it, it wouldn't have caused a big problem and no one would be upset. If you're gonna go to the gym, don't be lazy. Be completely about the workout, and part of the workout is putting the weights back. Carrying that 50-pound weight back to its spot is still part of a workout. That's a lot of work on your body to carry it back. So instead of just doing half a workout and not putting any of the weights back and making everybody else do the work for you, why don't you put the weights back or put them in the right spot? When you don't put the weights back, you could potentially hurt someone, because say I want to use a 35-pound weight and you put a 50-pound there and I pick it up expecting it to only be 35 pounds, I could throw up my back, or worse, fall over and hit my face. Everyone's trying to go there to be healthier, not to get hurt again. So why don't you just put the weights back in the rightful spot, finish your workout, and go home. Do it for America, people.
So yeah, Justin, I completely agree with you. You know, you go to the gym not to be lazy. The gym's the one place where you're supposed to not be lazy.
And like I said, it's like that's still part of the workout, is putting the weights back. You got to carry that 50-pound weight that you just carried wherever you are and put it back.
Well,
that's
kind of
part
going along with that, if you have like the barbell plates,
Yeah.
I hate when people put different weight plates on the same rack. Like you get a 45 and
Yeah.
then somebody will put a 25, and it's just like, why?
Yeah.
It's like you clearly see that it's meant for 45 pounds. Why would you put a 25 there? All you're doing is making everybody else's life more difficult.
It's miserable. It's really awful, because then you got to take the 25 off to get to the 45, and then out of spite, I'm putting the 25 back right where you put it, because now you're going to come back tomorrow and have the same problem.
But that's a vicious cycle, dude. You're a part of the problem.
I know. I made it grind my gears about something that I'm also the problem with.
I wonder how much employees at gyms hate that.
I will ask tonight.
Like that's probably their Achilles heel of working there. So we have some random notes from this week. What's going on this week?
Okay, so Patrick Beverley, the Rockets guard, had an MRI Friday that revealed a torn meniscus in his right knee, which sucks.
Major loss for Houston.
Yeah, that's
Karma.
Karma.
Ooh,
Why do you say
man.
karma?
Oh, just because of that whole Russell Westbrook debacle.
Oh, yes.
Man, I mean, do you think that was intentional?
I don't think it was necessarily intentional. I think that the jab he made at his leg earlier in the season was intentional, though.
It's just a tough loss for Houston, though. No way around it. I mean, Houston, we said, is one of those big four teams that come out of the West, and now Jeremy Lin's going to have to step up. He needs to go back to Linsanity form.
Linsanity. I would love to see some Linsanity come out.
He would be a legend, like, for all time if he did Linsanity come playoff time.
And just blew it up. That'd be awesome. I'd be cool with that. San Antonio Spurs have won 16 straight games, putting them 3 above OKC for the number 1 seed.
And once again, no one is
one's
talking about it.
I think I heard it mentioned on SportsCenter the other day for maybe 10 seconds, and then they went to the next thing.
It's unbelievable. They're still talking about Miami, still talking about Indy, talking about the Sixers losing streak, which is historic. I get that. Are the only team I've ever seen who could win 16 games in a row and no one would bat an eye.
It's crazy to me.
And it's not even like they do this often. I think this is the longest streak of the Popovich era.
The second longest.
What was the first? Do you know?
17's the longest.
Oh, so they get a chance.
They're one away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got a chance to do it. They're like the Sixers, but opposite.
They're what I want the Sixers to be in 5 years.
They might. Only time will tell at this point.
We'll see.
In the Western Conference, the Phoenix Suns are in 7th. Memphis is in 7th. And Dallas is a half game out in the 9th spot.
You mean Memphis is in 8th?
Memphis is in 8th. I'm sorry.
I don't know if you guys watched the Oklahoma City Dallas game the other night.
Heartbreaking.
Absolutely entertaining.
Heartbreaking.
Heartbreak. Why is it
Two
heartbreaking?
different
Dallas needed to lose that game.
But how can you root against Dallas when Dirk is going vintage Dirk on you?
He's got to.
I root against Dallas whenever the Suns need that 8th spot.
I don't think anyone in the world is talking about the Dallas Mavericks if they make the playoffs. It's crazy. The fact that they're 3 years removed from a title and they're just totally not on anybody's radar right now, and they're quietly with just a wily group of veterans are going to sneak into the playoffs potentially.
And you can never write Dirk off. He's clutch. If you put a big guy on him, he's going to use his speed to get around him, and if you put a small guy on him, he's just going to shoot over him. So there's not really, the only way to do it is guard him with Blake Griffin, and Griffin shut him down the other night.
I mean, he leaves a little to be desired on the defensive end, but when Dirk's on, it's one of those things. You can't stop him.
Yeah.
Monta Ellis having a great year. Rick Carlisle, one of the most underrated coaches in the league. Look out for Dallas.
Yeah, they might make some noise. In the Eastern Conference, the Hawks are 2 games above the Knicks for the 8th and final spot.
I mean, the Hawks have lost 5 straight, like we said. The Knicks are continually shooting themselves in the foot. So I guess it's going to be a stumble to the finish there. But just Atlanta ravaged by injuries. Al Horford, Kyle Korver being out, just really taking a toll on them. I agree with you. I don't think they're going to do any kind of damage at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at a 5-game series at the absolute most, whether they get Indy or Miami.
I don't even think it'd be 5.
Yeah, it could, one of those things. That neither of them really have any expectations. The only reason I think if it's New York, it maybe could be 5 is because Carmelo Anthony's good enough to steal you a game.
Carmelo actually said something the other day that if they made the playoffs, Carmelo said it'd be a power move, which I don't see how.
I guess being the 8th seed in a terrible conference is a power move.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter. They're not beating Indy or Miami.
Yeah. All right. Kansas center Joel Embiid will enter the NBA draft.
Maybe one.
Didn't he have
pick.
some back injuries? So that's a little something to concern.
Didn't play in the tournament, had back problems. Think that maybe holds him back a little bit. But if Milwaukee gets that one pick, they've hinted at taking Joel Embiid 1 overall. He's still, I think, in that top 3, 4, but he could be the 1 pick. But either way, he's going to be up there if he declares. He did tweet that he hadn't made up his mind yet, so there's a little conflict going on there. But I'd be pretty surprised if Embiid doesn't come out. And like I said, going to be a high lottery pick.
Yeah. And Syracuse player Tyler Ennis declares for the NBA draft as well.
A little surprised by it. Ennis was huge for Cuse during the beginning of the season. They got off to that. I believe they won 25 straight
they were on
games
a crazy
start the season. He had that just awesome 40-footer against Pittsburgh to win that game. I think he's probably towards that lower area top 10 pick. Not the best shooter in the world. Kind of ironic. The last Syracuse guard to come out was Michael Carter-Williams, and now it's Tyler Ennis. Same kind of deal. Not the best shooter in the world, but definitely can make some plays happen. Will be a high lottery-esque pick.
Yeah. Next news, Ersan Ilyasova will be out for the remainder of the season to rehab his ankle.
Yeah, he's had a terrible season in terms of him. I mean, he was on fire last year, and what a disappointment he's been.
Yeah, he pissed me off 2 years ago in fantasy, so I've always just kind of had a thing against him. It's nothing. Well, it is personal, actually. It's very personal.
And he had that crazy thing a couple weeks ago where he was punching Reggie Evans in the stomach when they were boxing out for that rebound.
Maybe that's karma.
Just one of those, just another one of those players though that underachieved for Milwaukee this year. He's with OJ Mayo and Larry Sanders, just players that they thought were going to kind of get him closer to that 8 seed range. Instead, they're now sitting at 14-58 with the worst record of basketball.
Yep. Another one is Andrew Wiggins remains number 1 on most NBA boards.
No surprise there.
Not a big surprise. No, nothing. Reggie Williams signs a 10-day contract with the Thunder. In 25 games this season with the Toulouse 66ers, Williams averaged 20.6 rebounds and 5 assists. So he might be able to make some noise.
We'll see what he can do.
I just don't see what the point of a 10-day contract is at this point in the season.
Yeah, I mean,
is it just to rest some players, or maybe
you can let people with small injuries sit and just be ready for playoffs? Mm-hmm. That's about all I could see it for.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, Thunder clinched playoff spot already, so
yeah, just getting ready.
It's all about seeding with them at this point.
Mm-hmm. And that's all my notes I got.
All right. Well, that was fantastic. Why don't we go ahead and roll right into fantasy basketball?
Now, NBA fantasy basketball tips.
All right, so here we are in the fantasy segment of the podcast. We are all going to, we're getting into playoff season. Me personally, I'm in my semifinal game right now. I know whether you do the aggregate leagues, season's starting to wrap up, whether you're in your playoffs, championship leagues for some, and semifinal weeks for other. So we're going to talk about those last second players that you can add. If you're looking for somebody, injury comes up, and you're trying to replace that game where you can pick somebody up. And I'm going to focus on Terrence Ross of the Toronto Raptors, really coming on these last few weeks of the season. In his last 3 games, he hasn't scored less than 16 points. Wow. So if you need that extra scoring punch, and it's on efficient numbers, 6 for 13, 9 for 16. There was only one game where he was 4 for 10, but still not terrible numbers. He's got some range. He hit 5 3-pointers in a win against the Celtics on Wednesday. Can get some steals, get a block or two. A versatile player. Just think he can give you that scoring punch you need too if you're looking for somebody out there.
Yeah, I agree. He's always fun to watch play in general. Also.
And he was awesome in the dunk contest. For that horrific, god-awful dunk contest that we're never going to talk about again, but he did a decent job.
Yes. The player I've got is actually a Sixer, surprisingly.
Really?
Henry Sims. He's their center.
Oh, I love Henry Sims.
Doing really well right now, actually. And it's not just scoring or, he can get you rebounds. He's averaging almost 5 rebounds a game, but, on the 22nd, he had 15 rebounds. So that's going to help you a lot.
Henry Sims, not to go on a tangent here, but he deserves an NBA contract next year. He should be on – the Sixers should bring him back. I'm not even kidding. He's one of 3 players on that team that plays any semblance of defense.
Right.
So you can't go wrong there.
Who is he? Where's he from?
He came over in the deal for Spencer Hawes. He with Earl Clark and the second rounders, and he just, sure enough, out of everything in that trade, he happened to be the player that is surviving out there.
He's doing very well at it too. At least posting respectable numbers.
And I meant to mention the statistic. I forgot when we were doing our whole Sixers conversation. Yeah. So take it a second away from fantasy, but it is statistics. So fantasy, whatever.
Yeah.
Since the Sixers last won back in January, 21 million people have been born.
That makes it sound embarrassing.
21 million. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl more recently than the Sixers last won.
Wow.
Just give it some context there.
Just give that a second to sink in.
And it could very well go to 36.
This is wow.
So
but Henry Sims is doing well.
But Henry Sims, bring him back. I don't care if he's the 12th man, whatever. Put him on the Sixers next year. What do we have to lose?
Exactly. And he's only owned in 14.5% of ESPN Fantasy League. So if you need a center who can help you out with some numbers, he'll most likely be there.
He's there.
Yeah. How many minutes is he playing?
He's playing not many minutes, almost 20, a little less than 20.
He's in the starting lineup. He just loses some of his minutes as the game goes on.
Yeah.
Kind of like Miles Plumlee. He starts a game but doesn't finish them.
Yeah, a little bit. I have Miles Plumlee on my fantasy team. He's been kind of streaky as of late.
Yeah, he's regressed a little bit, but he has come back on since Eric Bledsoe came back into the lineup. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Drive and Dish podcast. Again, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. Just hit the little subscribe button. Also, please give us a review. It does help us grow in the rankings. And, by all means, tell a friend. That's one way to do it also. I tell all my friends, so you should too. And if you want to talk to us on Twitter, just hashtag DADPod. That's DadPod. We always keep a little thing open in our tweet deck, so we will see it and we'll make sure to respond.
Seriously, do it. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your friends, tell a neighbor, tell your cousin, tell a random guy.
If they have, don't tell a hobo though, because they don't have internet.
Don't tell a hobo. Well, help them get internet and then have them subscribe. Yes. Do a good deed and you'll subscribe and you'll get to hear us every week and you'll get to hear some goodies that we have coming up. We'll get into that a little bit, but we might have some things in the works. We'll preview them a little bit next week.
Hey, I tell random women at the bar.
Hey, that's a good way to get it going.
If it works for me, it can work for you.
Exactly. If it works for Tim, it can work for you.
Okay.
That's all. That's all.
That's all, folks.
Thank you for listening to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes by searching Drive and Dish. On Twitter, use the hashtag DADPod. You can find Kevin at Refuse to Lose, Justin at Jay Kuzart, and Tim at Tim from Tucson. We would like to thank Hawks Media Group for allowing us to use their studio here in Jacksonville. We are in no way affiliated with the NBA, and any sound clips you heard on today's episode are copyright of their respective copyright owners. Go get them. We'll talk to you later. Until next time, toodaloo.